Wonderful day here at Mallory, awaiting the 750s as they queue up now to get off on 20 laps of the circuit. Fantastic conditions. A bit of a sorry episode for Steve Spray, who fell in practice this morning, qualifying only now in 18th place. Of course, the man of the moment, Yamaha's Terry Rymer, after a relatively unhappy episode in Japan last weekend, is back here to defend his championship lead, sitting up there on 47 points. Brian Morrison, really the only man who can do anything about it, on 34. Then it's Steve Spray, who, as I say, qualified 18th, will need to do something better to get himself off 27. Trevor Nation, teammate on the other, Norton. Jamie Whittam, the only Honda on the front row. And Rob McElnea, Terry Rymer's teammate, is 6th in the championship standings. Well, Terry Rymer is in there next to pole position man Ray Stringer, who's flying. 2 wins last weekend. Ray Stringer really in form. Jamie Whittam, the Honda, in the midst of all those Yamahas. Mark Linscott from South London and Brian Morrison from Kirkcaldy completes the top 5. Ray Stringer fell here quite heavily last year and broke both wrists, in fact. He's now returned to form with a bang, and in Southern Ireland last weekend won both 750cc races. Ray Stringer from Nuneaton, just down the road, pole position and very quick indeed. Then Terry Rymer, the championship leader, number 7 on the Yamaha. Terry out to earn some points. Consistency will be the name of the game as far as he's concerned, because Morrison is on the front row and he can threaten him as well. In the middle, Jamie Whittam was absolutely scorching round in practice, unbelievably quickly. Whittam returned to some of the form we saw from him in 1988, and the crowd appreciated his efforts this morning in practice. That earned him a place in the fabulous 5 on the front. Then it's Mark Linscott. Mark Linscott, who rode so well in the 2 750cc support races of the Donington British Grand Prix. Linscott from South London, and Steve Parrish assures me that Mark Linscott does a lot of his time on the European scene, but certainly when he rides here on the national race scene, is a force to be reckoned with. He could well pull this one off. The man who has it all to do, Brian Morrison, is in with a mathematical chance of winning the championship. He needs to get his Yamaha ahead of Terry Rymer's Yamaha, and for Terry Rymer to drop further down the order. Will the Scot do it? We shall see. The Grand Prix style umbrellas very much in evidence here at Mallory. Terry Rymer, the big southeast Londoner, really invincible in recent weeks. We had a chat with him, and this is what he had to say. Terry, you need 7 points now to keep yourself out of Brian Morrison's clutches and give you the title. Are they going to come today?
Well, I like to think so. I've got to take it steady and see where Brian is, and don't do anything stupid. The bike shouldn't break down. Everything's good on the Yamaha, so fingers crossed everything can go good. I've been panicking for a couple of days so far, so as long as everything goes good, I'll be well pleased, you know. Yep.
Last weekend in Japan, the bike did break down. Is it now sorted?
Yeah, it's the first time it's broken down in 18 months, believe it or not. It was running perfect, then I went out on the warm-up lap and it just stopped, so I had to push it off, and I was really sort of fed up about that because we went all the way over to Japan and all that travelling, it was really bad, and I qualified well up and would have been running with the leaders, I think. It's one of them things, really, you know, you can't do anything about it.
Well, Terry there in good form, and he, along with so many of the others, will dearly like to see this sort of view now of the opposition. Away from the start-finish straight into the long, sweeping, ever tightening up Gerrards. Heeled right over here, 120-ish miles an hour, straightening the machine up through the gearbox, into top along Steb Straight once they exit, but the bend never seems to end. It goes on and on and on. Listen to the revs building, the gear changing down through to the Lake S's. Closing on our rear end, metaphorically speaking, number 9, the Suzuki of Roger Burnett. Burnett now in hot pursuit. We're up at the hairpin, hard on the front brake, down into bottom gear, right over round here. Exiting the hairpin, the chicane will give you some idea of just how tight the riders have to flick it over. Right, left, out, down towards the Devil's Elbow, where Ray Stringer fell so heavily last year. Don't repeat it, Ray. We'd like to see you win the race. Over the line, completes the lap. The crowd have not been disappointed for 1 second of today's entertainment at Mallory Park. The fishermen are on the lake, the boats are on the lake, but the majority of the people are here watching the action, and tremendous action it is. The 750s, of course, we hope, Steve Parish and I, that is, will be the highlight of the day. But Steve, they'll have to go some to beat what we've seen already.
Yes, they certainly will, but a lot of the riders are within a second of, in fact, the first 15 are nearly within a second of the lap time. So, and they're right down on lap record time, so I think we've got a real stunner coming here. And the front row, it could be anyone. So I should be very nervous as they go into the first hairpin, Shaw's hairpin, because it's always very tight and very exciting at that point.
Terry Rymer's teammate, and there's Terry Rymer right next to Ray Stringer. Terry Rymer's teammate, Rob McElnea, will not start because he's still feeling a bit second-hand from the wrist injury he sustained when he fell at Thruxton. So across the front rows, Stringer, Rymer, Jamie Whittam, Mark Linscott and Brian Morrison. Those are the men who have the best chance of scoring into the first turn. Waiting now for the green light. Watch Mark Linscott, he's a demon. Away, and a cracking start for Linscott. Picks up the wheel, and that cost him vital seconds. Linscott pulled a wheelie. He was certainly away for the first 50 yards, but Ray Stringer, it's Ray Stringer on the Towster tuning shop machine. So Ray Stringer is away up Step Straight with 25 metres in it already. In fact, it's 33 away from the start. Tim Bourne from Ashford in Kent, Lake Essex. So a great start there. Let's have a look as they come up now towards the hairpin. All round. That's Tim Bourne, 33 Tim Bourne. There's Terry Rymer. Ray Stringer is now further down the order. Mark Linscott in there, Trevor Nation as well in there. So 33 leads from 7, from number 28. And number 28 is Matt Llewellyn on the Flitwick Motorcycles machine. There's Matt Llewellyn, we're with him now. So Matt Llewellyn is in third. Tim Bourne leads. Tim Bourne had a great ride as well in Southern Ireland last weekend. So Tim Bourne was the man who came home in second place behind Ray Stringer last weekend. 33 Tim Bourne leads from Terry Rymer. Matt Llewellyn, Williams, Mark Linscott and Trevor Nation on the Norton is 6th. So that's a bit of a surprise.
Well, it certainly is, because Tim Bourne came from the third row. He made a flyer of a start. He's on an OW01 Yamaha, and Terry's going to be quite happy, I think. He'll obviously want to be in front, but I don't think he's going to have a major problem passing Tim Bourne, in the fact that I know he can lap quicker. But what he will be quite pleased about is Brian Morrison is way back down the pack, at the moment about 9th spot. So here you see Terry's going for the inside. I think he'll go up the inside as they go into Gerard's corner, but no, he decides better. He'll hang back and maybe do it on the next corner, but that's not a problem for him at the moment.
Away now, down the back straight, exiting Gerrard's onto Step Straight. Tim Bourne still that advantage over Terry Rymer. Then it's still number 28, Matt Llewellyn. So a great ride by Matt Llewellyn in third place. Steve Williams, the Welshman, is in 4th. So I'm frantically glancing down the points here to see where Matt Llewellyn is in the table, but he's way down. He's only scored 2 points so far. So a real turn-up for the books. Stringer is ahead of Morrison, but Tim Bourne, well, what can I say? What a great ride by him from Ashford in Kent. He had a big, big crash at Thruxton last season, in fact. Has been knocked out twice this year. 29 years of age, Tim Bourne.
Well, yeah, I was about to say earlier that Terry Rymer's not going to have a problem, but he is having a problem because Tim Bourne is flying. The bike looks fast, he's riding very well. So maybe we have got a back on here. I thought that Tim had just made a flyer, but he's really lapping quickly, and no one's making any ground on him at the moment.
Well, Matt Llewellyn then, the man who's sitting in third place. This is 17th place in the table. Right with him, Steve Williams, number 31. Then it's Trevor Nation, then it's Linscott. Whittam and Morrison are together. Gary Weston from Ashford is in there as well on the Yamaha. So Gary Weston, the good 600 runner, is really going on the 750. Tim Bourne leads still from Terry Rymer, but Terry Rymer safe in the knowledge that where he is a 9-point situation, and he only needs 7 points if Morrison doesn't score. That will do it. Rymer's through on the inside. So big Terry Rymer up to the Lake Esses, goes through on the inside of Tim Bourne. So Tim Bourne's moment of glory over, for the time being anyway. A nice tight ride by Tim Bourne.
Yeah, Tim's been going great this year. He's had some good rides in the British Championship races, but he's going so well at the moment. His machine looks good, it's well prepared. But Terry's in the position he wanted to be in. He wants to be out front. He's a great rider from the front. He's good at pacing himself. He'll be getting his pit signals now that Brian Morrison is back in 11th spot, or in fact 9th spot now, so he's gradually creeping up, but that's okay. In fact, Terry, all he has to do is to follow Brian Morrison home, and he's got the championship here today. So.
Right, Terry Rymer on lap 5, quarter distance. Tim Bourne is in 2nd place. In 3rd place, it is still number 28, Matt Llewellyn from Glenfield in Leicester, just down the road on the Yamaha OW01, the Flitwick Motorcycles machine.
And we have a tumble. It looks like one of the Nortons, Trevor Nation. Trevor Nation's down at one of the Honda rides, Jamie Whittam, 69. So it's Trevor Nation and Jamie Whittam have fell at the hairpin again. It seems to be claiming a lot of victims here today.
Poor Trevor Nation, poor Jamie Whittam. They were indeed locked together. They were going hard at it before they came down. So, 2 machines out of the running, and they were top runners too. Nation was well up in the championship. In fact, he was in 4th place, Trevor Nation, from Hinckley, just down the road, so he won't score any more points. His teammate Steve Spray feeling the effects of that practice tumble as Rymer leads Tim Bourne now. Both Nation and Jamie Whittam up on their feet, perfectly okay. A slower part of the circuit, as Steve Parrish has said before, so very unlikely anyone would receive any sort of physical damage there, but the race goes on at the front as frantic as ever. Yeah,
very unfortunate for Trevor Nation and that point, but unfortunately at the hairpin there, the riders come into there, they're reaching speeds of close on 120 as they brake for the hairpin, and it's down to about 15 miles an hour, and if you don't get your braking point exactly right, and you've left it a bit late, it's very easy to run into the back of someone, and when you're on the maximum point of your braking and you can't brake anymore, that's what happens, and it looks as though maybe Jamie Whittam or Trevor Nation ran into him.
Llewellyn now up to 2nd, so the self-employed motor mechanic Matt Llewellyn from Glenfield in Leicester, riding number 28, is up to 2nd place. Guess where his first race was in 1985? Mallory Park. He obviously likes the circuit, he goes well here, and he's really closing. Llewellyn now is winding in race leader Terry Rymer. Who would have thought that the youngster riding number 28 would be so presumptuous as to challenge the race leader Terry Rymer, the man who's been supreme in the Supercup 750cc F1 class all season. Matt Llewellyn really going for it.
Yeah, his bike looks good. It's prepared by Flitwick Motorcycles, and it's very fast. But Matt's had a lot of tumbles this year. In fact, he's destroyed a couple of bikes. So I hope he keeps his cool here today. He's a good rider. He rode last year in the 250, proved to be a very talented young man. So he's now going to go on the big 750 machines, because that's really where it's at. That's if you're going to make a name for yourself, you need to be riding these big 750s in England.
Well, Matt Llewellyn's made it very clear that his target for 1991 is the European scene, of course, ultimately Grand Prix, but I think he'd settle for a good ride in the European Championships, and just look at the way he's going now. What a great moment for Matt Llewellyn. He's right in the slipstream of Terry Rymer. He's just 23 years of age. Crashed very, very heavily at Castle Combe this year. He's a 250 man, a former 250 man, and as Steve said, take to the 750 as well. Halfway through the race, Llewellyn goes in front of Terry Rymer up to the Lake Esses. So through the Lake Esses, Llewellyn, the cheeky Matt Llewellyn goes through. What a super ride for him, hooking it down through the gearbox. He must now, Steve, be on the crest of a wave.
Yeah, very much so, because this season, as I say, he's had a few ups and downs, and a lot of downs, unfortunately, but he looks to be riding good at the moment. His bike's fast. He looked like he outgunned Terry down the straight there and got on the brakes pretty late. Again, Terry will be getting his pit signals. I don't think he'll be too concerned at this moment. There's a long way yet to go. We're on lap 10. We're at half race distance, so there's quite a bit more to do, but It's all down to those last few laps as who's got good tyres left, fresh tyres, and can get through possibly at the hairpin once again, because that's the easiest place to overtake. Terry's right in his slipstream now. He's come out of Gerrard's a bit faster than Matt. He's going to brake later, and through he goes on the inside into the S's.
Well, a piece of copybook riding there at the S's as Terry Rymer again back in front. So Matt Llewellyn relegated to second. Father Tony will be there putting out the pit board. Great stuff for Matt Llewellyn second. Still the race on. Tim Bourne's still there. Morrison is now up to fourth. So Brian Morrison is really piling on the coals. Number 2 in fourth place. There it is. The caption confirms it. So Morrison is closing. He is the only man, and I remind you, who can threaten the supremacy of Terry Rymer in the championship. Terry Rymer needs to keep the Yamaha going. Brian Morrison, for his part, needs to keep closing in on the 23-year-old, formerly from Lee Green, now living in Barnhurst in Kent. Terry Rymer, the race leader, has his serious challenger, Brian Morrison, in fourth place.
Yeah, Brian really needs to be past Terry, but that's going to be quite a feat to close that gap. But he has put the fastest lap in, and he's the man that's got everything to go for. He can afford to stick his neck out a little bit more, because for him, third place isn't good enough. He has to be in front of Terry Rymer, so I think we'll see Brian charging. If he closes on Terry, and if he passes Terry, then you could easily see Terry just following him home, because that's still good enough for his championship position to win this British Super Cup Championship.
Well, Morrison now past Tim Bourne. Mark Linscott is also coming with him. Linscott is now breathing down the neck of Tim Bourne as Brian Morrison has almost a clear road ahead of him. The man in front, of course, is number 28, Matt Llewellyn, and once Brian Morrison can slip past him, he then has Terry Rymer firmly in his sights, and the vast experience of Morrison could well wear down the ever so slight lead that Terry Rymer has. As they come up to the hairpin again, it's Llewellyn, number 28, right with race leader Terry Rymer on the Yamaha. Rymer's round. The distinct Loctite livery through the S's, flicking it out towards the Devil's Elbow. Coming round again. This is where Morrison threw it away in such a big way in 1988 when the back wheel just slid out and he almost landed in the pit area there, but this time no problem for him. Terry Rymer now is some 3, 4, maybe even 5 machine lengths, and as they go down Step Straight, or exiting Gerrard's for Step Straight, goodness me, that is deceiving there. He's away. Llewellyn, Morrison, Mark Linscott is by Tim Bourne, and Steve Williams, number 31, a brave fight for him, hanging on to 6th.
I'm very, very impressed with Matt Llewellyn. He's riding so well. I mean, to be in front of the likes of Brian Morrison and John Reynolds and Steve Spray, it's a terrific ride he's having here today, and Terry's not pulling away. I don't suppose he's actually trying 100% at the moment, because as we said earlier, he needs to finish this race to get some points. Morrison is closing a little bit, but Matt Llewellyn is making a name for himself here today.
So, something out of the bag again for Llewellyn. He's got the signal, obviously, that Morrison's on the charge, doesn't want the canny Scott to come past him. He's got to keep on going as hard as he can, and in doing so, will stay with Terry Rymer, who is very much on the pace right now. Absolutely flying Terry Rymer. The gap now almost 50 metres. Through the S's again. Rymer leads Llewellyn. Morrison is closing now. He's got Llewellyn in his sights. Mark Linscott is in 4th still, and 5th it is still number 33, Tim Bourne. Morrison right with Matt Llewellyn, number 28. The yellow flag's out further down the circuit for an incident at Gerrard's. What that means is the riders have to ride with caution but maintain their station. There can be no passing on the yellow flag, but what it does do is give Brian Morrison the opportunity to close.
Yeah, it's a little bit like a pace car would come out in America. You have to hold your station, but it doesn't really stop a rider from behind closing that gap. But Morrison has closed on Llewellyn now, no doubt about it. He's right there with him, but he's going to struggle to get past him. Mallory Park is not known for its easy overtaking. The hairpin is the place you're going to, if you are going to do it, is the easiest place. So we could see Morrison make a move on the inside, but he's going to have to go some to catch Terry at this moment. I think we're on lap 15 with 5 laps to go. So first he needs to pass Llewellyn to close the gap on Terry Rymer.
So there you see the top 6 as the race goes on. What a frantic battle it is here indeed. Terry Rymer, still Matt Llewellyn, still Brian Morrison very much in his wheel tracks. The sun blazing down, brilliant weather. What tremendous weather we've had for the 1990 road race season. It's so much more fun to race when the conditions are like this, and Morrison and Matt Llewellyn absolutely side by side, and Morrison going into the S's, leaning on Llewellyn, but Llewellyn's on the tight line. They flick it through. Can Morrison do it on the brakes up to the hairpin? But he's on the outside, having to go the wide way round. Hey, Llewellyn down! Put Llewellyn under just that much pressure. Matt Llewellyn very, very annoyed with himself for that, but that was the psychological pressure by the experienced rider.
Yeah, it's such a shame for Matt Llewellyn, because he was riding so well, but he just implied too much front brake. You can see on the brakes, the back wheel skipping off the ground, lock the front up. To lock a front slick tyre, you really have to be grabbing that front brake. Unfortunately for Morrison, it's put him out wide, so it's lost time on from his point of view, but it's done Terry Rymer no harm whatsoever.
Well, I think we should rename Shaw's Corner the Incident Hairpin, because it's all happened here at the hairpin today at Mallory. And now Brian Morrison is some seconds down on the race leader, Terry Rymer, who will soon be encountering some back markers. Let's hope there's no fuel or oil spilt on the track there as a result of Matt Llewellyn throwing it away. But up to the chicane. I'm waiting now as Terry Rymer comes down over the start-finish line. So Rymer goes over. Morrison, almost the length of the straight now, trailing Terry Rymer, number 7, who has a tail ender ahead of him, and he's going the long way round.
Yeah, he just needs to take his time now. I would hopefully have thought he's been getting pit signals to say that Morrison is at least 4 seconds behind him now, so he's only got a cruise round with 2 laps to go. So once again, things have changed around with riders falling, and it's given Terry a tremendous advantage now with 2 laps remaining.
On target for 10 points, Terry Rymer, race leader, number 7. On target for 9 points behind him, number 2, Brian Morrison. The man in your picture now, number 39, he's a tail ender and about to be lapped now by Morrison. He's already been lapped. That's Mick Davidson from Kingston-on-Thames. About 45 seconds now of the Mallory circuit to do for Terry Rymer. There's Brian Morrison in second with Mickey Davidson ahead. Once he gets past Davidson, he has a clear track. But what a copybook ride by Rymer.
Well, yeah, I don't suppose we should speak too early, but he's only just got to negotiate about 3 more corners to cross the line, and that will then give him the British Super Cup Championship. And his bonus from Yamaha is to get the Loctite Yamaha that he actually rides as a bonus system. So that's a very happy Terry Rymer you'll see if he crosses the line first in a minute. So fingers crossed, and it's the British champion we're looking at now.
Just the chicane now to negotiate. Then the devil's elbow, the adverse camber left-hander. He'll exercise a bit of caution there. The crowd applaud the efforts and the antics of Terry Rymer, who's jubilant in victory. Last year the championship went to Norton. This year the championship has gone very firmly to Yamaha, and the man who lifted that crown for them, 23 years of age, Terry Rymer, a very, very charismatic young man with a brilliant future ahead of him. Brian Morrison, number 2, came home in second place, emulating the Kevin Schwantz antics. Terry Rymer gets it. Brian Morrison, I think, will offer him some congratulation. We shall see.
If he's not careful, he'll get a punch in the ear the way that Terry's waving his arms around. But yes, he's a very happy man, and Brian is the first to congratulate him. They were out racing in Japan last week and laughing and joking about it, but it was a very serious championship, and well done to Terry Rymer, and in fact to Brian Morrison for his 2nd position.
John Reynolds came home in 5th, Ian Simpson, Tim Bourne, a great ride, and he got 4th, and Steve Williams fought to 3rd at the finish. What a good result.
And an unbeatable lead of 16 points for Terry Rymer over Brian Morrison in the championship. Great season for Rymer on the Yamaha. 4 victories in 6 races, never out of the top 3, and confirmed as the TT Formula 1 Shell Oil's Super Cup champion.